This episode of Powered by Women is brought to you in part by In Search of the New Compassionate Male. For more information, go to newcompassionatemale.com.
You've heard of steam-powered, horse-powered, and gas-powered. Rev your engines. And then there's solar-powered, man-powered, and the old electric. But get this, even though Dennis is directing this show is solely lunar, powered by women.
Hello, welcome to Powered by Women. I am your host, Diane Call. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy that you are here with me because we have two very, very special guests. And before we bring them on, I just think it bears repeating every so often just to talk about the overarching intention of the show. And that is to, for women or who identify as such, to move the narrative forward in a more empowered direction. And one thread of this narrative that I would like to focus on is friendship and women supporting each other. And I really do believe that we're moving out of a more fear-based, scarcity-based mindset where, there's only room for one of us, maybe two, but really just there's only room for one queen bee. And I really believe we are moving into a more limitless perception where there's more love and abundance and more of that community-based mindset. And my two guests today, in my opinion, exemplify this and illustrate the power of when women join forces. And women can join forces on one task or one project, but women can also join forces just simply by being a support of their individual endeavors. And so, okay, our two guests, I know them through a Facebook group that they created for musicians and songwriters. It's called Kimono My House. And it is their story to tell, so I'm going to have them tell that story at some point in this episode today. But first, let me tell you just a little bit about each woman. Okay, Andy Gish. I'm going in alphabetical order, by the way. So Andy Gish, how I know Andy is this: she is a badass musician. She is a published singer-songwriter for her power trio, the Yum Yum Tree. And I dare anyone to not smile when they hear the Yum Yum Tree. That's one of my favorite band names. So that is a big part of Andy's life. Another big part of her life is that she is a registered nurse, a board-certified ER nurse. She also does a lot of community outreach through the Atlanta Harm Reduction Organization, which does a lot for overdose prevention and overdose reversal through the distribution of Narcan. She's a guest lecturer at several universities, including Emory University. And yes, in 2018, she made the top 10 list of Georgia nurses. Now, this is one thing that I hope to have some time to talk to Andy about, is she is a former anthropologist and primate researcher. How cool is that? I really want to learn more about that. Now, Andy's partner in Kimono My House crime and other probably creative crimes is Kim Ware. And how I know Kim Ware is as a musician, and she is an impeccable singer-songwriter. She fronts a band called Kim Ware and the Good Graces. Now, she began drumming at the age of 12. And in 2006, she bought this old clunky guitar that she called Buzzy. I'm guessing that it buzzed a lot. And she began writing songs. We are going to fast forward then to 2015, where there she is opening up for the Indigo Girls for several legs of their tour. That's an amazing 9 years there to get from Buzzy to the Indigo Girls, and never one to sit idle. Kim also, along with Andy, helped create Kimono My House. She started a podcast called Quarantuned, and she began graduate school to become a licensed therapist. I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for these two women. So let's bring them on and get the conversation going. Andy Gish, Kim Ware, welcome to Powered by Women.
Thank you.
There you are.
Hello, friend.
Yeah. And you know, I am so struck and moved by your friendship. There's just something very special about it to me. And I think as women and women musicians kind of doing similar things, you know, it's just such an important, I think, friendship to highlight. So my first question is, how did you both meet?
I don't know.
You-
I don't know exactly.
That's on you. I don't know either.
Like,
I love that.
I mean, we had a lot of mutual friends playing music in Atlanta, but I feel like we got to know each other through like around the time of the Other Sound.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw you. No.
First time.
You were playing with Mario Harrison, and I was like, oh, she's got a girl drummer. That's awesome. And then I found out that you had a record label, and I was like, oh, I don't know who this new girl is, but she obviously has her shit together. And yeah, that's what I remember. But I don't think I met you at that time.
Yeah, I wish I could remember like exactly. But yeah, I guess that would have been around, I'm trying to think of that would have been around 2005, 2006, probably.
Oh, okay. So right
and
around
then
the
we
time
lived
you started.
next to each other twice. So
Do what?
we lived next to each other twice.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we got to know each other better. I think because we were like physically we were located.
Yeah.
Right up the street too. Yeah.
Yeah. And had you both written together, performed together at all, or has this strictly been just sort of being each other's support as you kind of do your stuff individually?
Yeah, we haven't written together, but we've sang with each other and accompanied each other in different ways.
Yeah, we've played a lot of shows together with our bands through time.
Yeah. And you've taken some road trips?
Yes.
I know that trip to Nashville. Yeah, let's hear about that.
Yeah, I want to say that was in 2018, I think. Because it was after the Set Your Sights album came out. But yeah, Andy went on tour with me. Just like it was about a week, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the shows was in Nashville. And that was really fun because after the show we got to go to Bluebird Cafe.
Yeah.
And that was a really special show.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It made me uncomfortable. All that stuff going up there really kind of made me uncomfortable. I was singing backup for her, which I'm not used to being a backup singer, so it was a big stretch for me. I'm just not great at harmonies, but it was also so much fun. So it was nice to do something that was scary, that I hadn't done before. So
yeah, getting out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Now, had you ever, either one of you, experienced like a lack of support or that type of competition, from other females? And of course, you don't have to name names, but I'm curious about that too, because that's been a part of my prior experience, not here, but in Chicago.
I feel like in my 20s, there was reluctancy to connect, right? There was reluctancy to support each other. And maybe we all felt like we were trying to prove something. I mean, I feel like I was. Not that I was trying to be disconnected or anything, but I think that there was a little bit of disconnect. And what's interesting is, once you get older, like I still know some of those musicians that we used to play shows with, that we weren't like, there was community, but it's not like the women were supporting one another. And I feel like that's very different now. And I don't know if that's age or age community, but I felt like before it was much more disconnected.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting word to use. It's disconnected.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if it's just, like you said, age, getting older, where I don't know if there's that desperation maybe that kind of dissipates, you know?
Yeah. Or experience and just not caring. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a gift, not caring. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. Oh God, yeah.
Not taking yourself too seriously. Because I think, because I was thinking about that, and I think like jealousy, envy, all that stuff is just very primal. That's like in all of us. And I think maybe it's just experiencing that too, you know, experiencing that feeling enough to where it's like, okay, well, that can be a thing that I just acknowledge, and I don't have to then take that and be an asshole about it. Right. You know?
Right. It doesn't make it so. It doesn't make it right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really believe that, I mean, there's plenty of room for us all, you know, because we all bring something so different.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And neither one is, you know, supreme, so to speak, and seem to be that way. I don't know if that's just how our culture is evolving too, you know?
Yeah, maybe so. And maybe it's a positive thing that like women are starting to get more opportunities, you know, and maybe that helps us not feel like then it's like this unhealthy competition, you know, because competition can be healthy. It can be motivating, definitely. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot. There's this article in the New York Times. It's a whole conversation of its own, but I just read it yesterday, and it's really interesting, and it was really sad to read, honestly, but it gets at a lot of that, just that mean girl spirit sometimes that exists between women that are doing the same thing, and reading it and seeing it, it's like I just felt, it was like, wow, that is so horrible. And I mean, it was like to a degree that it was just really, really bad. But it was so obvious, like it was more than just, like I said, like a competition, or even just it was just mean. And I hate when I see that anyway, but I especially hate it when I see it like with women doing it to each other and doing it to themselves. It's nasty, and it's not good. And I think the more I'm made aware of things like that, the more I realize it's like, oh God, I never want to be that way about other women, like whether they're even like my friends or just acquaintances or whatever. I want to do the opposite of those sorts of things.
That makes me think of like back then, because I'm thinking about, you know, when I first started in my 20s, I had no idea what I was doing, and that makes you uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And women are complicated, and the weird thing is that I played with guys. I mean, really, collaboration wise, I've only played with a couple women, because I mean, it's simple. Like, I know what to expect of them. I mean, especially as a person who's leading a band, you know, they'll do what you ask them to do. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not like saying men are simple, but I'm just saying women relationships can be complicated. And especially back then in my 20s, I probably couldn't have handled it that well. Because that mean girl stuff, like, I would run away from that stuff. I was like, no, I'm not. Because I didn't know how to deal with it. Now I'd probably confront it and be like, stop, come on.
Yeah, you just, right. Yeah, yeah, it can be prevalent. You know, there's movies about it for sure, and you know, I do agree that there's healthy competition as well, and to use that to fuel us to be better. You know, to be better human beings or better writers, singers. You know, plumbers, whatever it would be, versus trying to tear somebody down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and Andy, I had never even thought about that, but I'm kind of the same. I mean, I have far more experience collaborating with guys in a musical setting
Yeah.
than girls. And I think for me, I was kind of a tomboy. So I just, surrounded myself with guys. And I wanted to do whatever the guys were doing. And then being a drummer, usually for guys, but then sometimes, like with Mario and stuff, sometimes for girls too. And yeah, that's interesting just because I think the dynamics are different musically when collaborating with men versus women. But then I haven't saying that, like, I haven't even really collaborated with women near as much, like to even speak to the differences
Right.
as much. It's been just like, mostly surrounding myself with other guys playing music.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm wondering too, because you both have been in the music field for so long, do you see changes in terms of how you are treated or regarded? Because you both are fronting bands.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
When it's when you see things that are still so messed up, it seems amplified because at this point it should not be there. And Kim, actually, when we said we would do this interview, I thought about when we were in Detroit, and this young guy comes up to us. It was a music festival, and I think he was playing too. And he goes, "You play guitar? I've never seen a girl play guitar." And I was like, I don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. Like, what? Go away. Like, I was just like, what? You didn't, like, it was as if I didn't know that they did that.
Yeah.
I know. And it's funny because I think, Andy, you're absolutely right. Yeah, in some ways, it's like, I love that it seems like there are so many more like women songwriters and like women like fronting bands that are like super cool and are really like admired, and it's kind of a good time to be a woman making music right now. But then there's still like the stupid people. Like, I think about when this was just a couple of years ago when I was playing drums at Star Bar, and I was walking in with a drum, and this guy goes, "Don't you hate it when your man makes you carry his stuff?"
Oh.
And I just looked at him and I was like,
Oh my God.
I'm like, he needs to carry his own stuff. Well, then later in the green room, that guy was in the green room, and he had just seen me play. And like, I had posted on Facebook about, "Oh my God, y'all won't believe what this dude just said," and all this stuff. Well, then, fast forward a couple hours, and he's like, "So I just realized that thing I said earlier was really stupid." And I was like, "Oh my God, can we take a selfie together? Because I want you to know that I was like, this guy's an idiot." And just the fact that like he said that he recognized that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that's something.
Yes.
But still, I was kind of blown away. It's like, really? Like, we're still going to get comments like this? Like, it was like 2018 or something. It's like, huh?
Whoa, 2018. Yeah. It's how great that he had that awareness to come back and correct himself. I bet he learned to not say that stuff again.
Hopefully he did. And because that's the thing where that's a little thing and it's kind of jokey, but it's pointing out that it's like, oh, this is like this other thing when it's not. And and I mean, I could call off a number of comments similar to that have happened. Just, I mean, I'm thinking of one example just from a few months ago where, I mean, and it was over social media, but I was very conscious of this feels like if I was a guy, you would not be communicating to me in this way. And it was cringy. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why we still see that stuff, but we do.
Yeah, it's like it's hardwired somewhere, and but it is becoming less and less. I would hope. Do you see it becoming?
Yeah, maybe.
The hope is in the children. I mean, their language is different, so you know what I mean.
So true.
That is true. Because in the examples I'm thinking of, it's kind of older dudes, so, like guys that are my age or older.
Yeah, like I don't ever need to be called a girl bass player anymore, a chick bass player ever again in my life. For the record, you don't ever have to say it ever again, anybody.
But badass bass player works though, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Because you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, yeah. So I'm wondering about, because you've been writing songs for how long? I mean, a very long time. And is there a song that, the other has written that you really connect with, that really speaks to you?
You first.
Oh, yeah. Well,
there could be several, right?
Yeah. Andy, I don't know if I should call out this song because I don't know if you've ever played it live.
Oh, no, go ahead.
But no, this just came to mind. I mean, well, My Corner came to mind.
That song.
But yeah. And I mean, and that's so fun to sing along with and stuff. But Andy, you had this song called Gaslight.
Oh yeah. It's a dark song, but it was written in the beginning of the pandemic, so everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's such a relevant.
I totally forgot about that song, but yeah.
It was powerful. And yeah, I remember
it.
Do what?
Maybe I need to revisit it.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Is it okay to recite a line or two? I'm.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know that I did. I don't even know that I'd know a line without like listening to it. But it was a kind of a retrospective looking at something back in my life where I realized like you know what gaslighting is, right? So it was and it was me seeing it for the first time, which is crazy. Like, looking back on something and then all of a sudden seeing it in a different perspective. And so, I mean, that's why I wrote that song, and maybe I need to revisit it. So, but thank you for remembering that. And I don't know. I mean,
I would love to hear that song for sure. It's so relevant because I think more and more people are realizing what it is, what gaslighting is, and being able to now label it instead of feeling crazy.
Right. Yeah. So, and I was very young at the time, and it was, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, it was kind of, I guess writing that song felt like a kind of therapy, right? Which is what, one of the best things about music. So
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, for Kim's song, I mean, I love Under the Weather. I love Spider Lily. I mean,
oh my God, yeah.
How can I not say Spider Lily? So I don't know if you know this, Diane, but Spider Lily was written in part about me and my dog that passed away.
Oh.
And this isn't something I actually thought about until now, is that Kim and I are both in each other's lives, for hey girl, have you heard this? Or music collaboration, but also pets. We've been there for each other when our pets were old and or sick. And so anyways, she wrote that song for me and gave it to me on my birthday. And ugliest cry ever. So, and it's such
a good
song. So.
Oh my God. Yeah. I heard that song for the first time 2 months ago, Kim, when you were at the Earl and you played that song with the Good Graces. Oh my God. That is such a beautiful song. And how What a beautiful example of your friendship once again.
Mm.
What a beautiful tribute.
It was probably the best birthday gift I've ever had.
Oh, cool.
For real.
Chills.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I think we can all say, like, that's the best thing when you can make something that's like really just pure and real. And like, I mean, a lot of songs, they end up kind of being for somebody else and you didn't even intend it to be. But that was there haven't been many. I wrote a song for my husband once, and that was very intentional. I'm writing this for him for our anniversary, and this was also very intentional. Like, I'm writing this for Andy, and it was just it's a very different experience, and it's kind of nerve-wracking because I remember telling her, like, so many times during the process, it's like I wanted to just ask her about lines and stuff because it's like the only person that's going to know if this is working is Andy. But I wanted it to be a surprise, so I couldn't ask her. I just had to make it, and yeah, it was so different making a song that way. But it did come from just a really, like, it was inspired by. I mean, it was the day after her dog Lily passed away. There was a spider lily that popped up in my yard, and that's my favorite flower. And I was like, wow.
Whoa.
That's kind of neat. And I feel like I could do something with that combination. And yeah, like the first little bit came out really, really, really quickly. And like a lot of songs for me, then I just got stuck for probably about a week. And then finally was able to finish it.
Yeah.
I was just glad I was able to make it.
And I remember you being anxious and being like, is this right? Did I get it right? And I'm like, it's so right.
Oh.
I sent it to my therapist. That's how right it was.
Yes. Oh, man. And it is such a beautiful song. I remember just standing there going, it was just so beautiful and hypnotic. And
oh, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm debating what I love where this conversation is flowing, and if you don't mind, though, I think I'm going to kind of just turn a little bit here. I'd like to ask you each an individual question. So, Andy, I am so fascinated, when I read former anthropologist and primate researcher, and I'm so curious about the experience that you had and what you learned from that. What have you carried forward? What have you brought with you from that?
Right. So, I mean, when you're working with primates, you have to be very aware of safety. And so nonverbal behavior is like key. And that's what they spend so much time training you to read nonverbal behavior so that you can remove yourself from a situation if you need to. And to work with that, right? Like to work with when someone feels comfortable, you can move forward, meaning a primate. However, that training I still take with me in relationships, in nursing, in, negotiating something, like watching that nonverbal behavior. I mean, it's a gift because, just don't lie to me. I can tell, like it's just so clear. And as an ER nurse, it kept me out of a lot of trouble. I was able to connect with patients really quickly because I'm going off that nonverbal behavior way more than I'm going off of what's coming out of somebody's mouth.
And that's where the truth lies. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I took that from it. I like Kim, I get bored easily. So, I've had many careers.
And yet there's there's this thread of, like study and learning and just growing and expanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Kim, being in graduate school, to become a licensed therapist, I am really interested to see, or just to know your thoughts about, do you see common threads between what you are learning now and doing and being a successful musician songwriter?
Oh God, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when I first started the program, I think it was actually on orientation day. One of the professors said, like, and it was in the middle of a lot of the like George Floyd stuff and a lot of just unrest in our country and everything, you know. And she said, everything that's going on, you will bring that with you to class and like throughout your coursework and everything. And that is okay. Like we encourage that. And there was just this big emphasis on like being like honest and authentic and real that I had not gotten from my experience in the corporate world. And that was so refreshing. And so, yeah, I feel like the same thing applies with songwriting. You know, it's like if you're not being real and not like people pick up on that. And I mean, for me, I'd rather hear something that's just real and authentic that maybe has some like blemishes and it's like imperfect but it's got more character and that's far more interesting to me, you know. And it's like, and I could go on and on and on, and like people's stories are so interesting to me, like even if like they might think that what's interesting about that, no, it's cool because it's like everybody's got their own uniqueness. And I think in both cases, at least that's what I've learned so far. I mean, you might tell me that I'm wrong, Diane, but it seems like it's like honesty and genuineness is very valuable in both cases.
Yes. Yeah. And just pulling from deep within.
Yeah.
And that willingness to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
To share.
For sure.
Which is not always easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
talking about the hard things, right? Yeah. Like I mean, you can go into a therapy session and you can be, it's like you might talk about your day and it being challenging, but it's like, okay, well, what is this person really saying, you know? And it's like, to me, like early on, that was something that I tried to capture with songwriting because I was really taken with songwriters that were able to do that, were able to sing about things that they might not want to talk about. And where sometimes you'd listen to it and you'd be like, oh God, I can't believe this thing I'm hearing and I'm not sure how to react. And it's like, it's uncomfortable and it's the hard stuff. And I mean, I hope that maybe my experience in trying to do that and appreciating that, at least in song, like other songwriters, you know, maybe that'll help me, because that is one thing that's kind of daunting about just the idea of being a therapist. It's like you don't know what you're going to hear and how you might react, and it's like it might not be appropriate just to say like I'm sorry and start crying, but sometimes it might be, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. I totally agree, and you know, I think, you know, as a therapist, and you know, we are all songwriters, we are all in, you know, this clinical field as well. You know, I really think it takes that comfort with whatever emotion we're feeling or whatever presents itself. And again, you know, like with the nonverbals that you're talking about, Andy, all of that is just, it all just comes into play. Yeah. Well, I remember the first time I went live on Come On to My House, I was absolutely petrified. You could not see my left leg was just like tremoring the whole time, and luckily it was off camera. But what a beautiful community that you both have built with Come On to My House, and I would love for you to share that story with our audience.
Yeah. I love that you were nervous and still did it, right? Because I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, is like show up as you are, right? You know, like, and it's okay. And so thank you for sharing that, though, because I mean, it's a vulnerability, right? Like I was scared to do that. I mean, I was scared to do Come On to My House stuff, and you know, we created it. So
because you can't see who's on the other side, right? You're like,
Right.
who's out there?
yeah. Kim,
Yeah.
why don't you? I don't know. You tell your perspective of.
No, well, it was Andy's brainchild, but you know, and it was March 13th, 2020. That day I left work early, because the shit was starting to hit the fan, and that week had been pretty busy, and I had seen Andy had posted a couple things, but I hadn't really had the time to pay much attention to it. But she had posted about wanting to like start something so Atlanta musicians could stay connected. And that day, since I came home from work early, I had the time to like, oh, okay, I'm gonna inject myself into this conversation that she's having. And I was like, hey, why don't we start a group, and we can use Facebook Live, and we can just go live within that group, and you know, we'll do that for the 3 or 4 weeks, and then we'll be done, because then we'll be back. Then we'll be back in person again, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it really was just I mean, it's kind of funny. Like leading up to that, I think I had taken January and maybe even February too off of Facebook, because I kind of just felt like I needed a break from it, and so I kind of felt like I was slowly walking away from that as a means of socializing. I know. So I thought, and yeah, I mean, it was that day, the 13th, and we just went, we invited a handful of people. One was David Mampowski. And I guess Andy was like, what should we call this thing? There were a couple of different names. I don't remember any of the other names. It might be funny to look back and see what some of the other names were.
Yeah.
That would be.
But yeah, he said, you know, come on to my house, and we liked it. It sounded fun and quirky, and you know, it had Kim in it. So selfishly, I was like, that's funny.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
I've never realized that. Okay.
I love that. I didn't know that either.
No, but I mean, it was a fun name, and so several of us were like, "Oh yeah, we like that." And yeah, and so like I went live from my porch, and I was like, "This is, we could do it like this. This is how it would work." And then other people started doing it, and over time, people from Atlanta, then they started inviting people outside of Atlanta, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. But Andy, I mean, you should really speak to kind of what you were thinking about at that time, because I just saw it as like this was Andy's idea, and I saw that like, oh, I can help you kind of organize and shape this thing. But it was totally just, it came from her wanting to stay connected to people.
Yeah. Oh, I think we froze a little there.
It was for a second. I think I froze for a second. So sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, that week was a huge transitional week for me. I actually quit my job in the ER that week, closed on my refinance of a house, canceled 3 or 5 shows. Like, there was so much going on. And,
Oh, you're muted all of a sudden.
Yeah. Let's see. I think you're.
Say something, Andy.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
We do. There's a bit of a delay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
We can, and don't worry, because this is recorded, we can edit that part out.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll start over. It's because I'm doing it on my phone, and I have it on Do Not Disturb, but it still pops up. So I don't know what to do about that, because it's not. I've turned off everything I can. So
quite all right.
so that week was a very challenging week for me because I quit my job in the ER. I was like closing on a refinance of my house. I had to cancel a bunch of shows. And all of a sudden the world felt really, really small. I had just gotten, the Yum Yum Tree back and playing about a year before. I was very excited about that. And it just seemed like the things were, being in the ER, you see these things before they happen, right? Like my anxiety level was crazy since January. And I felt like a crazy person because like the rest of the world wasn't quite aware yet of how bad things could get. I mean, they became far worse than I ever thought. But, and so in that situation, I want to be connected to my community. And that's why I stayed in Atlanta when I came here, is because I saw an amazing music community. And so I'm like, all of a sudden that's going to be shut off, and I had 2 shows that weekend that had to be canceled. And I mean, I canceled one of them before anybody canceled anything, and they kind of acted like I was overreacting. And I'm like, you have no idea what's about to happen. That's what I felt like, So, so I just relied on my friends and connections. And Kim is awesome because, like, I'm good with ideas, but I kind of go at things a little haphazardly. And she's great at being like, okay, let's like focus on how to run this smoothly. Because it wouldn't be nearly as organized without her. So, and she's a great sounding board. So of course she's the person that I was like, hey, you want to, no, help me. What do you think about this? So, and we actually created it as something else other than a group, like something else at first, and then like deleted that and then created the actual group that you guys know of.
Yeah, it was a page at first, but I was like, we need to do it as a group because if we'd have to give people admin rights to the page, if we kept it that way, and it just seemed like that would be a little bit tough. Excuse me, to sustain and manage. So I was like, let's just do it as a group, and then we can just let people come on in. Just like, and very early on, we were like, we want this to be a virtual venue. Like that was how we kind of described it to each other. We didn't necessarily want it to just be a open to everybody. And I mean, it is, like, but we wanted there to be, exactly. We wanted there to be some structure, because I think that's what helps, like, places, groups, like anything, get an identity. And I think we wanted it to have an identity.
Again, just such a powerful example of how you both worked together and created this very beautiful and supportive community. And I'm actually going to seize this opportunity right now to thank you both. And I hope this does not sound trite, because sometimes these phrases get overused, but truly, Kimono My House has saved my life. I feel my life is better. I have brought music back into my life, and I've never been around such a supportive group of musicians and creative people ever. And it's been so healing for me. So I thank you both tremendously.
That's awesome. Yeah. That is awesome.
It is.
And I believe that, I believe that Renee wants to say something as well, if that's okay.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Guys, we are so honored to have you here. KMH, Kimono My House, is what started so much in this artist community. It's been this artist incubator. It gave rise to all these other groups. Tardon Media Network would probably not be here in this incarnation without Kimono My House.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give a shout out to you, because the work that you guys put into this and the support system that you have built has been like another Laurel Canyon. It's like this amazing place, or like the Greenwich Village or something. I really believe that people will be talking about this for a very long time to come. My entire reboot artistically was because of you two, and Tom Cheshire and Lars Nagel building on that. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much.
Well,
That's
that's
crazy.
awesome.
I mean, I just very honored. Thank you. I don't think that our intention was not self-serving, but it was what we needed, right? And
Right.
what it turned into was something so much bigger. And I think that part of that is too is that, you know, we were very much like, come as you are, you know what I mean? Come and play in your pajamas, you know.
Yeah.
And this has kind of fallen off, but early on, one of my things was like, tell us how you are, tell us what you need, and, you know, put your Venmo in there, because a lot of people were, you know, making money off of music, and that was paying part of their bills, and that had stopped all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it, is that, you know, we've seen so many people's living rooms that like we've hung out with them a million times, but I've never been in their living room. And so I think that there's a genuineness to it that was missing, right? Like that you weren't getting at shows at the Earl, you know, coming into Jeff Evans' you know, house, and, you know, seeing his dogs. Like there's something
Yes.
awesome about that, right? So
Yeah.
but I'm glad that it's serving all of these different purposes, you know.
It truly is, you know, from one kind of like little circle, this is tremendous ripple effect. And I know that there's a few others that would like to pop in right now to thank you. So we have Mr. Jonathan.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Just to
Howdy.
expound a little bit on what Renee was talking about, and how we have forged so many soul ties through KMH over this last, Jesus Christ, year and a half now. It just, I don't know what to say. Just all that's happened, and all of the love and all of the support, which I've not gotten really anywhere else.
Yeah.
And to get to meet you beautiful, wonderful, decent people.
Oh.
I'm so thankful.
I'm gonna make me tear up here.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you so much. Like,
Thank
seriously,
you.
I mean, I really do want to say
Thank
though,
you.
like all we did was we saw a need, you know, but I mean, Diane, Renee, Jonathan, like you mentioned, Tom, really, it's all been you guys, because we
Yes.
could have seen a need and like no one could have gave a shit, but you guys did.
Yeah.
And so that's why it became anything at all. And for me, honestly, having left Atlanta that I love so much, and it's like, as much as I was like kind of tired of social media stuff, I don't know, I can't imagine what I would have done if I didn't have that, because at least I have that. And it made me feel more still connected to Atlanta, and all the friends that we made during the pandemic.
I know.
Holy cow.
What a blessing.
How strange is that? You know more people after staying in your house for a year.
I know.
It's wild. But no, anyway, Jonathan, I hope I didn't interrupt, but I want to you all to know that I really mean that. Like, it really was almost like a spontaneous thing. We were like, okay, well, let's just put this thing up. And I mean, it's because of all of you guys embracing it like you did that made it anything at all. So thank you.
And just to add more to what you're saying, Kim, just the bonds has gone past music.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had folks like this that I can open my heart up to. I've never told my story to so many and had so many care. It's just KMH and all the groups that's come down the pike it's just gifts that keep on giving. And I'm so grateful for that. So
And
grateful.
we're so grateful for you, Jonathan.
And we have
'cause you've
someone
got it
else
so
who wants
much.
to come up as well.
We do. Mr. Rory.
You're on mute, Rory.
Hello, Rory. He's muted.
You're
Oh, he's
muted.
muted.
You're on
We
mute.
can't hear you.
We can't hear
I love
you.
it.
You're
I
on
love
mute.
it.
Rory, you're muted.
What I was saying was,
There he
and
goes.
comedy. So see, you're laughing already before I'm even talking.
Yes.
Oh,
I
God.
wanted to come in and say thank you personally. I literally found out about this like minutes before it started.
Yeah.
And I was eating breakfast in the break room waiting, watching the show. I woke up late, and again, I saw the messages, and they said, "Oh, we're going to thank them at the end of the show." And I was like, "Oh God, you got to let me be part of this. You got to let me thank them personally." I mean, you obviously didn't realize what you were creating when you did it, and I hope you realize now that it has changed so much for so many, and it's given hope to so many. Again, it's like they've all said before me. We've all become friends, and we never would have known each other, had we not had this opportunity that you put out there for us. If you'd have told me 30 years ago when I left It's Casual that you'd be doing again and again in 30 years, I would have said you're crazy, but there it is. And so thank you very, very much for doing what you did, whether it be for your own reasons or, I'm just glad it's here, and we all are. And it's only going to grow. It's only going to get bigger and better, and more people are going to become involved and become part of the circle. And again, it's just a wonderful thing. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Rory.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to.
One
I mean,
more
I want to say
Oh,
thank you for showing up. Like, the thing is, we created this venue, but if people didn't show up, then nothing much would have happened with it. So, and I've played, I don't know, hundreds of shows probably, but like getting ready to broadcast on Kimono My House, every time I was so anxious. Sometimes I got in fights with Matt. Is it going to go off the Wi-Fi? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's a special kind of thing, and I appreciate you guys showing up, and doing what you do,
Yes, and I believe we have one more person who wants to say something. Yay, there he is.
There he is.
Hi, everybody. I have not met
Dennis.
Andy. I have not met you. It's nice to meet you finally, and that I know the rest of the wonderful crew. I'm particularly moved, Diane, because this show is powered by women, and SDF is powered by women, and the what happened here. And can I see everybody, please? Thank you, Director Renee. What so moves me is this is a time when we're seeing when men have controlled the media to where women are getting involved, and you see what happens when we have a head and heart centered. We bring both head and heart into the process. Something is created greater than we are. It isn't a zero-sum game. This ends up being a synergistic 1 + 1 is greater than 2, which is what you and Kim did. And this is what's happening. So we're going to see this and use this as a model, the hybridization of our media, and being able to have both shows that are both virtual and in present. You're laying the ground. You have laid the groundwork for that, and allowed so many people to connect that is going to go way beyond what we did. And I'm so proud of this. I'm so proud of the rise of the divine feminine. We've needed it. We are over masculine. We're under feminine in their power structures, and you incredible, powerful women, and you beautiful men who are so supporting and growing and who are strong enough to stand up beside these powerful women touches me so much. And this is the values of the Tardown Media Network are to do this and to promote this everywhere. And I want to thank all of you for this. And Andy, what a pleasure to meet you. And I look forward to meeting you further. And Kim, gorgeous, amazing Kim, who is such an inspiration to me. And Diane, thank you for piloting the show and piloting this movement that can see women standing up beside and taking their place so that we can have the balance in the world that we so need.
Oh, yes. Thank you all so much. Oh man, what I could not wait to bring you all on and give these thank yous, because they are so needed, and just to highlight the power again of when women join forces. And again, it was just this, got this idea, hey, what do you think? And here we all are. Yeah. Our lives are better. Our lives are so much better.
And can I just say,
so
can I just say
that's it, Kim. Damn right.
Oh my God.
I just saw it. That is so beautiful. I love it. We need a still frame.
Nothing less. Nothing less.
Oh,
Go, Kim.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Can I just say before we stop? Yes. Can I just say before we stop tape, and Dennis and Rory, I think y'all can attest to this as well. These 4 women on the screen right now have shaped us and molded us and made us better so infinitely much in the time that we've come together.
That's right.
Kim, Andy, Ray, Diane, God bless you all. Are such beautiful, decent, and incredible souls. I'm so thankful for all of you.
I am really.
You are lifesavers and mountain movers, all of you.
Okay.
Virtual hug right now, John.
Yeah, virtual hug, exactly. And at the end, may I ask Diane, for my editing purposes, could we have you on the screen solo to do an individual that you were about the show and about this, and then say goodbye, so I'll have an easy edit to close.
Yes, yeah. I just have some brief kind of closing words, and then
perfect. Yeah. And then say goodbye with staying very clear right into the camera.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Ones, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to bring everyone else down, and Diane will be solo on the screen. Okay, and then we'll do that.
What a special show, and I am so glad that we all here at Tardon Media had the opportunity to thank Kim and Andy and Kim for creating Kimono My House, because we surely would not be here without their idea and their shepherding, their stewardship. They're just keeping the group going, and yes, we've all been a part of it, and so happily so. I'm a big believer in gratitude. I really think that gratitude is this healing emotional salve that we all need. And we all need to express it. And more importantly, we all need to receive it. And it's just so healing. I want to thank Renee Jaworski, Dennis Tardon, for creating this opportunity for this show. And Jonathan Phipps, for you being behind the scenes for this show and just being that bright light that you are. And Rory Pendland, you make us laugh. You're such a good guy. I have such gratitude for you. I have such gratitude for Clay Boykin for sponsoring this show. And I have such gratitude for you, the audience who continue to listen to the podcast, watch the YouTube episodes. Thank you so much, and I truly look forward to seeing you all next time. Remember to be kind.
This episode of Powered by Women has been brought to you in part by In Search of the New Compassionate Male. For more information, go to newcompassionatemale.com.